Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Diana. Good morning to everyone. Thank you for introducing yourselves in the chat. We're going to go ahead and get started. So, to introduce myself, my name is Dewana McCreary, and today I am your presenter for today's training session. In the chat, we also have Diana Terry here on behalf of PTD. She's going to be monitoring our chat and answering some of your questions if needed. So, we want to say good morning to Diana. Hopefully you received the email with all of the materials that we're going to be going through today. If not, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my screen over to our knowledge base so that I can show you where all of the manuals and guides are that we're going to be using today. So just give me a second to change my screen over. You're going to hear me go on a brief pause. Okay, so this is our knowledge base, and just to kind of give you an idea of how we're going to be going today. So this is our CEPD Admin Fiscal Agent training. This is the spring training. We're going to go over procedures for both the CEPD Administrator as well as the Level 5 Fiscal Agent. So all of the material that we're going to be going through can be found on the knowledge base. If you hover over Administrator here on the home page, you can find that there's a link for Fiscal Agents and there's a link for CEPD Administrators. So for an example, I'm going to go to the fiscal agents first. And this here is just a breakdown of some of the key points of what a fiscal agent is responsible for. On the side here, this is useful resources for fiscal agents. And the guide that we're going to point out today is the CETEIS responsibilities of the FA. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go through this information and show you where all of this information is for the fiscal agent. And then I'm going to show you where all the information is for the CEPD administrator. And then we're going to head to our PowerPoints to kind of outline what we're going to talk about. And then we're going to do some demos. So kind of give you an idea of how this training is going to go. So for the fiscal agent, if you are a fiscal agent, this outlines all of the responsibilities as a level 5 fiscal agency authorized official. So I'm not going to go through and read all of this information. This is here for you. As always, in all of our training sessions, we let you know that technical help is always available. So if you're in the application and you have questions of a technical nature, we ask you to reach out to our CETEIS help desk. The telephone number as well as the email can be found on this page of this document. If you have questions regarding policy, we direct those questions directly to OCTE. And the representative for OCTE is Joan Church. Her email as well as her telephone number is here on the screen as well. For follow-up, which is a fall task, that's where you see Dr. Ye. Her information is here, but you will not have to contact her probably for the spring. But in the fall, if you're putting in information for the follow-up study, that's where she would come into play. But the information is here for the guide is here for both seasons. So all of the information is in this guide. We also have a link to the OCTE website. So some of the documents that I might refer to is directly taken off of the site because they write the policy. So there's a link here to review some of the OCTE information. So again, you can go through here. It kind of outlines all of the information. It gives a timeline and basically everything that you need to be doing throughout the year. For a fiscal agent, they have a task. They have the task of helping with the enrollment completion collection, as well as manage users. Manage users is more of a fall task. So for the spring, fiscal agents, the only tasks that they would have is those that are responsible, that you're responsible for as it pertains to the enrollment. So if we go down here, I'm going to go back up. I went too far. So we're in May. So this lets you know that all of the information as a building reporter, they're supposed to put in the information into the system regarding all of the enrollments, the students, the courses. But as a fiscal agent, it's your part of your task to make sure that that information is accurate before you submit your reports. So this gives you reports that you can review before submitting your reports to your CEPD administrator, the bad UIC by building, the UIC with no current MSDS. We just recently went through a deadline that was in May. This has passed the student enrollment data deadline. This was more important probably a couple of days ago, but if there are errors within the report, you may need to refer to some of these reports here. So this information is here. Reports for verifying student advancement. You may need to look at the student advancement report as it pertains to making sure that you're tracking completers, that all of that information is accurate in the system. So as I stated, you're going to be making sure that all the enrollment data is accurate, that the building reporter submitted. So we're going to go through a demo today of how you would review that information. Again, just show you where the reports are, that you can make sure that you're tracking completer advancement, that all of the student enrollments are in the system as they need to be before you submit that final report to your CEPD administrator. So if you want to go back and review this guide is here. Again, you can find it by hovering over the administrator and going to fiscal agent. So again, this has all of that, all of the responsibilities of the FA. See this responsibilities of the FA. Some of these other guides, the managed users, again, that's for the fall. The submission process is for the fall. We're going to go down here to the enrollment completion collection error resolution guide. This is very helpful right now because, again, as you're running your validations, you may have errors that come up in your data that you may need to troubleshoot. So this is the error level. It displays the error level, the error message, and a resolution. So this may be very helpful in, again, assisting those building reporters and making sure that they're looking at all of the warnings and errors within their data and making sure that everything is tracking in the correct direction so that you can submit that report. So this error resolution guide, again, can be found here on the Fiscal Agent homepage. And then here, this is, again, a document to show you how to submit the report when it's time to do that. So this shows how to do it for the Fiscal Agent Authorized Official, and then it kind of outlines it again for the CEPD Administrator. So this information is here for you to review. We're going to go through those demos, but this is where you would find that information. Okay, so as the CEPD Administrator, we're going to go to your homepage. If you are a CEPD Administrator, this is where all of the documents that I will be going through today can be found. So just as the Fiscal Agent, this is the CEPD responsibilities of the CEPD Administrator. Again, just laying out all of the support information for technical help as far as policy help, who you need to contact, a timeline of events broken up by month. So as you know that we're moving towards the month of June. And with that in mind, some of the tasks for the month of June is CEPD Options. So right under here under Spring Task April, it kind of combines together. As I stated, we just went through an MSDS data review portion where you would have to make sure that all of the students were enrolled in one course with correct UICs. So these reports here gave you that information. The CEPD Options selection process is what we're going to be discussing today. And this just kind of outlines all of the directions that I will go through and how to use the CETA screens to make your CEPD option selections. And then the continuation of the responsibilities as a CEPD administrator. So as the building reporter inputs the data is then submitted to the fiscal agent from the building reporter. The fiscal agent then submits it to the CEPD administrator, and that's where this information comes in. So as a CEPD administrator, there are reports that you can use to review the data before submitting to OCTE. So we're going to go through that process as well and show you where those reports are once we get into our CETA screens. So this here is just a outline of some of the helpful reports that can be used and where they can be found. So again, I'll go through this information, but we just wanted to show you where the guide was. That can be found by the CETIS responsibilities of the CEPD. Down here is CEPD options. So there's a document that just outlines only CEPD option information, how to access the screens, and how to make your selections. And then this last link here is how to submit your actual enrollment report to OCTE. So as with the fiscal agent, this is for the CEPD administrator. So this is the process here. So that's the information on the knowledge base. We're going to go back to our, actually, I'm going to now bring up our PowerPoint slides to kind of highlight some of the important information that we want to go to for this training. So just give me a second. I'm going to pull up these PowerPoint slides. You should have received the link. But if you didn't, that information can be found here for the fiscal agent. This is the PowerPoint presentation here. So if you click this link, you'll have the same slides. So I'm going to go on a brief pause. So just 1 second. Okay, so we kind of went through all of this information already. We did our introduction. Our introduction was just showing you where all of our resources are on our knowledge base. We're going to go through all of the level 5 demos at once. So we're going to go through our review of our validation, as well as how to submit to the CEPD administrator as a level 5 fiscal agent. and review some of the reports that can be reviewed before you make your submissions. And then after we finish with the level 5 spring tasks, we're going to have a quick break. And then we're going to go into the CEPD Administrator tasks, which consist of the CEPD Options. That's going to be due first. And then we're going to go over our submission to OCTE. So you'll see the submission screens as a CEPD Administrator. Then to final, we're going to just review some of the, looking ahead, some of the due dates, and just show you where all of that information can be found. So jumping right into the level 5 fiscal agency task. So at this particular moment, it is recommended that level 5 fiscal agencies authorized officials oversee enrollment completion and submission from building reporters. You want to review reports. The completer assessment summary is very helpful at this time. The student advancement export is very helpful at this time. And then program enrollment history. All of these can be found when you log into the CETEIS application at CETEIS.com. And you can use this information to track, as I stated, completers if you want to make sure that you're going to be getting the proper funding for the completion of completers. All of the information as far as enrollment, that information can be found by accessing these reports. And those reports are very helpful just to make sure that you're tracking the accurate data. The error resolution guide at this point, as I stated, is a very helpful tool to help you troubleshoot errors if you have any errors in your validation. So as a building reporter, I put this information out in the training for the building reporters as well. So we encourage you to review that document, and it gives a lot of helpful tips on how to troubleshoot the errors, and you want to make sure that you pay attention to warnings. Again, we're going to go through a validation and submission demo. A new process that has been recently updated in the CETEIS application is the assertion. That assertion is agreeing that you have reviewed all data before you submit to the CEPD Administrator. It's going to be a pop-up, very small, and you just have to check the box to assert that all of the information that you're going to submit has been reviewed by you. And then once you make that selection for the assertion, then that information is submitted onto the next level. For this instance, it will be to the CEPD Administrator. So we're going to demonstrate where you can see that. And then the last point here is that the enrollment reports are due to the CEPD Administrator June 13th, 2024. So we're going to go ahead and go to the training site to demonstrate everything that I just said for the fiscal agent. And then we're going to come back and do the CEPD Administrator. So we're going to completely finish out the fiscal agent and then take a break. And then we're going to go right into the CEPD Administrator, CEPD Options. So we're going to switch our screen over. So here you should see the home screen of the training site. This site actually mirrors the actual CETEIS application. I'm going to log in. I have been granted permission as a fiscal agent, so I'm going to use that information. If you're new to the role, when you log in over here in the corner here, you're going to see it says log in using my login. Once you select that link, it's going to take you to the My Login for third-party verification process. You're going to go to verify your information, and then it's going to bring you back to the CETEIS application. So for this training site, I get to bypass that information. So this is the home screen once you're logged in. All of the information that we go through can be accessed by going under the Explore documentation section. If you want to get enrollment documentation, all of the CETEIS reports, you can use these links to be navigated back to the Knowledgebase to review those guides. Down the side here, the right-hand panel, is just all of the due dates that we mentioned earlier. So all of this information is here just for your convenience. Again, the reports for the enrollment completion is due to the CEPD Administrator June 13th. So you want to keep that in mind while you're doing all of your review. So we're going to go under the admin We're going to select that. Again, for this demonstration, I have been granted access as a fiscal agent and as a CEPD administrator. One thing that I want to point out is if you do have both roles, like I do here, all of your processes have to be done in that specific screen. So if you have a role as a fiscal agent, you have to go in under fiscal agent monitoring and select the screen. If you need to complete tasks as a CEPD administrator, you have to log out and log back in as a CEPD administrator and do that screen. So we're going under fiscal agent. If you don't have both permissions, your screen will not look like this. You will only see the fiscal agent monitoring. So we're going to go under enrollment collection submission as a fiscal agent. And see, this is prompting me to select a year. And as a fiscal agent, I have 6 buildings that I'm responsible for. So of all of these buildings, only one report has been submitted by the building reporter. So as you can see, there's an X here for this Breckenridge building. So that means that that building reporter has submitted that building for my review. So if at any time I find that there's an error in the data that was submitted for Breckenridge Community Schools, I can send this report back to the building reporter to make those changes. If I've reviewed all of the information and it's accurate, at that time, I can then hit the submit button, and that will then submit to the CEPD administrator. So for the demonstrations today, we're going to just view issues. So viewing the issues is running the validation. So as you can see, for this particular Breckenridge Community Schools, that's been submitted by the building reporter. It says that the validation passes. Let's show, for instance, once it stops thinking, we're going to go into another building that hasn't been submitted. So we're going to view the issues of the Avondale. And as it shows here, there's 128 issues. So this is what at this particular moment, because it hasn't been submitted by the building reporter, this is what the building reporter could see as well if I was logged in as a building reporter. But it shows that all of these errors here under error type, the issue level is an enrollment error, and then it shows the course information. So as you can see for this one example here, there's an error in enrollment for this particular course in Avondale High School. It shows that 0 enrollments for this class. So that means that I have to go in, locate this information under Manage Enrollment, and identify where the error is for this enrollment. So there's no students within this particular course. So I have to make sure that the building reporter goes in and makes those adjustments. So for all of these courses that it says 0 enrollment for the class, we need to make sure that we address those because those are errors. If this said that it was a warning and you are aware of the data that's in the system, it would still pass the validation. So the building reporter will still be able to pass that on to you as the fiscal agent. But if it's an error, errors have to be addressed. And there are 128, I believe, errors in this record, which means that all of these have to be looked at before that June 13th date. So that's why we encourage the building reporters to go in, run the validation as many times as needed so that they can troubleshoot these errors. Again, the error resolution guide is very useful. So for instance, the issue description here for this error, for this particular course, the Avondale High School first semester course without enrollments or beginning and end date. So I want to go to the Manage Enrollment screen, identify this particular course, and again, go through and input that data if it needs to be input. If this course is no longer active, I want to make sure that I'm identifying that information and making those adjustments. Again, this is all as the building reporter, but as the fiscal agent, you can review this information as well. So hopefully the building reporter is going through at this particular moment and making sure that all of these errors are being addressed. But if you want to offer your assistance, this is the screen that you can look at. Another error here is that the second semester without enrollments or beginning and end date. So it just looks like there are some courses here that were entered in that were not completed. So that could be the system, the situation now, because maybe they're working on it, but you just want to continue to run the validation to make sure that all errors are addressed before you submit your report. So for this particular example, we would need to go through and fix all of those errors. Some helpful reports, again, as I stated in the PowerPoint slide, if you go under reports and select building reports, we mentioned these reports in our training for our building reporters. And if you go down here, the specific reports that we highlighted is the student advancement export. If you select this building here, this will give you a listing of students by student segments by program serial number and building. So if you hit the select button here, this will then generate an Excel report that you can review to review student advancement. Again, once you submit your report as a fiscal agent and then to the CEPD administrator, and then the CEPD administrator submits to OCTE, those reports are locked. So if at any moment you find that you're getting less completers that you thought you would have in your data, or you haven't been tracking your completer information and it's not accurate, you would have to get those buildings released to be able to make edits in that particular building. So it's encouraged that you review your information as many times. Make sure that you're using all of the reports before you submit to your CEPD administrator. So using the student advancement export would be a very useful tool. Another one is the completer assessment summary. I think I can pull this one up. The export, because this is a training site, I can't access all of the reports that you can. Let's see, the program enrollment history is another one. So we have the student advancement export, the completer assessment summary, and then the program enrollment history. So I can't access that one. But if you go through and select this one here, this one is useful, again, as I said, for finding completers, making sure that that completer information is accurate and you're having the amount of completers that you are aware of within your data information. Again, once it's submitted, you would have to get those building unlocked by OCTE once it's submitted to OCTE. So it's an important practice to go through and make sure that you review these reports. So once you have reviewed all of the reports, we're going to go back in here. And for this Breckenridge, we're going to use this as an example. This is the Breckenridge Community Schools. We're going to use this one here to submit to OCTE. So this, again, it shows that the validation passed. So I'm going to submit. And then this is where the assertion comes in. I don't know if it shows in my screen share, but the assertion states, by clicking OK, I assert that all enrollment information submitted for this building is accurate and complete. And it just shows that you need to select OK or cancel. So once you select OK, that information is then updated in the system. And then as you can see, there's a success message Okay, I'm still here. It's just kind of. Okay, so now this went through. Okay, so as you can see at the building reporter level, let's open this up. The building status, there's an X because the building reporter submitted to the fiscal agent. Here, the fiscal agent status is an X here because now the fiscal agent, as a fiscal agent, I submitted to the CEPD level. So now this report is transferred to the CEPD. Now, what CETIS will try to do is CETIS will try to attempt to send an email to the CEPD to let them know that that information has been submitted. But it's a good practice as a fiscal agent for you to reach out to your CEPD as well to let them know that that report has been submitted. If you're not sure of the CEPD information, this link here, if you hover over your name, if you click this link, uh, this will generate a directory that has your CPID information, the emails, as well as the telephone numbers. You can use that information to contact your CPID to let them know that that information has been submitted. Again, this training site is going through some updates, so everything's not working for me at this point. But if you if you click your name, you should pull up a directory, and that directory will have that information for you to reach out to your CPID if you don't have it. But as a fiscal agent, because I submitted to the CEPD, at this particular moment, my task is done for that particular building. What I want to point out is that I believe there were 6 buildings that I'm responsible for as a fiscal agent as soon as it loads, and I would need to do that process for all of the buildings that are assigned to me. So yeah, so still thinking here. But yeah, if I only submit it for the one building, I would need to go through, view the issues for the other buildings here. These reports, this is the student report as well as the course reports. These reports can be viewed once you submit your report to your CPID. You can use this information to review offline to generate the information within that particular building. So again, all of these need to be completed before my job is done as the fiscal agent. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to take a screenshot of the assertion. So just give me 1 second as I go back in and do that. So 1 second. Hopefully you can see it on the screen now. I took a screenshot at the fiscal agent level here, and I'm trying to share it here. So again, this is the assertion that pops up. I'm not quite sure why it doesn't pop up in my screen share. I have to look into that. But basically, what it says is by clicking OK, I assert that all enrollment information submitted for this building is accurate and complete. So once you make the selection here, it will then finish the process and then submit to the CEPD administrator. As far as it being in the manual, we're still waiting on a word from OCTE. As soon as we receive that information, we will then update the manuals at that point. So for right now, this is the wording that it says. So just make sure that you're paying attention to that once you get into the validation screen. So here again, we're going to go through that process one more time just to show. So we're back to this here again. As a fiscal agent, I'm going to submit. Click OK for the assertion. And then that information is submitted to the CEPD administrator. So again, you would have to do that for all of the buildings. It's 6 buildings here. As a fiscal agent, I would need to make sure that that process is done. All of the errors are corrected. All of the warnings are addressed. Again, using all of the resources that are available on our knowledge base would be very helpful. Again, as a fiscal agent, the enrollment completion error guide is here. This link is here. If you want to review and troubleshoot some of the errors or help assist in troubleshooting errors, you can find this guide. Reports that are useful. I'm going to go to again, accessing the CETEIS reports. You can use this guide here. Go to reports and then building reports. And all of the reports that are useful can be found in this guide. So you could go through, again, as I stated, I believe it was the program enrollment history, the student advancement export, as well as the completer assessment summary are all very helpful in identifying completers, making sure that your funding is accurate and that the information in the system is as it should be. So you want to make sure that you're reviewing this as a fiscal agent. And at this particular moment, if you've done that for all of your buildings and submitted to your CEPD administrator, that would be the responsibilities for the fiscal agent at this time using the fiscal agent screen. So are there any questions regarding any of the fiscal agent responsibilities? We still have a few minutes before we take our break, and then we're going to go right into our CEPD administrator responsibilities. Okay, I see the comment there. We will write that down. Are there any other questions for the fiscal agent? Again, for the fiscal agent, we will have, and this is for everyone, if the fiscal agents want to pass the information along, there will be a e-workshop that's taking place. I forgot the date. One second. Let me get the date for that. That's going to be June 11th. Is the e-workshop, and that is a open, pretty much open help desk opportunity. That information will be on our knowledge base closer to that day. So if any of the fiscal agents want to refer this information to a building reporter, if they're having trouble putting in information as a technical problem, the CETEIS help desk will be online that day, and that time is from 9 till noon and then 1 to 4. So you can come in, drop in at any time during that period and get your questions answered. So again, the e-workshop is June 11th. The link, how you would log in, you don't have to register. You can just click the link. It's going to be on our knowledge base closer to. And again, you could get your questions answered. So if you want to transfer that information along to building reporters, that would be useful, but it is open to everyone. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. If at any point you do have questions, again, the support site, we're still on our screen share here. If you just slide down the technical help, if you want to reach out to the CETEIS help desk, the email is here. And if you have policy questions, Joan Church, and her email is here. So this concludes the information for the fiscal agent. We are going to take a 10-minute break, and then we're going to go right into our CEPD options. So we're going to go through that information, and then how to run the validation as a CEPD administrator, and then we will conclude our training. So I'm going to put up a timer, and it's going to be for 10 minutes as I switch over to our CEPD options information. If our fiscal agents want to hang on, you can hang on and stay on. If you have to leave, Diana, I believe I don't have the survey link, but if you don't mind hanging on, we have a survey at the end of each training that you can fill out the training information and let us know how we're doing. We will really appreciate that. But we're going to take a 10-minute break. Again, this is the end of the information for the fiscal agent. When we return, we're going to be doing the CEPD administrator. So I'm going to change my screen to my timer. Thank you for that, Diana. So the link to the evaluation, if you do have to leave or if you want to come back in, you're more than welcome to do that, is in the chat here. We would really appreciate your input, but I'm going to go ahead and start this timer. So we'll see you in 10 minutes. Okay, we're back. Welcome back from break. So, as we stated before our break, we're going to go right into our CPID administrator task. So, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go through the CPID options. So, I'm going to skip a slide. I'm going to come back to this one. So, we're going to go to our CPID options selection task. All right, so you should see this PowerPoint on your screen. As a CPID administrator during the spring, you have the responsibility of making your selection for CPID options. CPID options is a selection process that allows the CPID administrators to identify specific programs they want to fund with their CPID share dollars. So the process that takes place is you make your selections using the CETA screens to identify programs. You can save your selections and review them into the CPID options due date. So you can go in, make selections, come back, make more selections. You could do that all the way up into the due date. And then only those programs selected, and that's checked off by you, the CPID administrator, will generate the CPID share dollars. So helpful resources for this process is the CPID Options Guide. I'm going to show that again. The Added Cost Guide by OCTE, that's on the OCTE website. I'm going to show that. And then funding reports. You have the XO 107 and the XO 110 that can be found on the CETEIS application by logging in and going to reports and then funding reports for previous year's data. So if you want to review what funding looked like for the previous year, you're able to access that report information. And if there hasn't been any changes, there's no new programs or no new expenses, you can keep that information the same. So we're going to kind of go through a little bit here. So first I'm going to go to the CPID options guide to show you that. So 1 second. So back to our knowledge base, we're going to go down here to CPID admins. And under useful resources for CPID administrators, we're going to go down here to CPID options. All right, so this document kind of outlines how the process would work. So just to kind of highlight, again, the CPID options module provides a way for CPID administrators to identify specific programs they want to share with their, they want to fund with their CPID share dollars. The CPID options page, when you're in the application, lists every state-approved CTE program within each CPID. CPID administrators are responsible for identifying the individual programs to fund with their CPID share dollars, and only those programs that are selected by the CPID administrator will generate the CPID share. And I do want to make mention, thank you for the comment, that CPID options is now open and available. So it's open currently. We sent out information yesterday regarding the opening of CPID options, so that is open at this time. All right, so you can go in. This outlines the process of logging in and then making your selection, how to get to the CPID option screen. This here just outlines what you're going to see when you're on the CPID option screen and identifies the different components. Down here is the calculation of CPID option funds for selected program. So it shows the new funding formula. This was provided by OCTE, and it breaks down the explanation of the formula components. If you want to review this information to identify the amount that each specific CPID will generate, you can use this formula. Another helpful tool that I saw was on that is out there, that was identified, is the added cost guide that's on the OCTE website. I'm going to switch over to that. So if you go to michigan.gov and search for the added cost guide, this is the added cost guide here. If you scroll down, it kind of outlines how the funding formula explanation works, and all of the components of that formula is listed here. So there are programs that are going to receive 60%. And that 60% of the total section 61A1 allocation is distributed based on the state rank list. So there's programs that's going to be on your CEPD options screen that will generate 60% of those funds already. The 40% comes in, and that's what the CEPD administrator will select, and that will hit that program at a local level. So local priority for program funding is determined at the CEPD level via the CEPD options report. Each CEPD receives a portion, which is referred to as the CEPD share, of the 40% funds and select individual programs to support with their CEPD share dollars. So what the main takeaway from this is you want to make sure that you go in and make your selections of the programs that you want to receive the CEPD share dollars. If your programs, some of the programs that you want to identify are also those programs that will receive the 60%, you want to make sure that you're making those choices. If you have new programs that need funding, you want to make sure that you're going through identifying those programs and making those selections. If you do not make any selections, if you do not select programs to this year, it will default to the previous year information. That's where some of the reports come in. I'm going to go to the reports that I mentioned. And again, you want to make sure that you're making the selections to make sure that that money is going to the correct places. So let's go to our reports here. I'm going to go to the explanation of the reports in the Knowledgebase. So we're back on our Knowledgebase, and we're going to go to reports and then public reports. So this here is the homepage for CETEIS public reports, the 61A1 funding report, the XO 107. I'm going to click that link. And this shows the background and a screenshot of what this report looks like. So all of the information here is outlined by the columns. The columns all have identifiers to how to read the report, and it tells you the information from previous year data. So all of the funding information from 22-23 can be found on the XO 107. If you feel that that information is the same, then you will not lose money if you don't enter that information into the CEPD options. What will happen is if you don't enter in the CEPD options information, and for instance, there's a new program that may need funding, that program may not get funded if you don't go in and make that selection. So that's why we say it's important to review your information and make sure that you're making the right selections. Going back to the CETEIS Public Reports homepage, again, that 61A1 report, the XO 110. This tells all of the funding, again, all of the column headers to kind of break down that information. And this shows it at the CEPD. So when we go into the actual CETEIS application, we're going to generate these reports. Hopefully they'll open up for me, but I'll show you where you can locate them. And then we'll make we'll show you where you can find those for previous year information. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the training site. And I'm going to log in as a CEPD administrator to demonstrate the CEPD options. First, I would like to see if the reports will work. So let's go to the reports. All right, so make your selection, and then you would hit run report. Oh, sorry. It's not gonna work for me, is it? So once you make your selection, you can select your CEPD, and then that information would be available in your dropdown, and then you would hit run report, and then it would generate a report that looks like the screenshot that's on the actual document that I showed on the Knowledgebase. The same would work for this report. It looks like this report's going well. Okay, great. So this one is previous year information. It shows that this is the XO110 state total section 61A1 funds by program. So it shows here all of the, again, I said that the outline for the actual columns are identified in that document on the Knowledgebase. So if you want to refer to that document, it kind of tells you what these columns mean. But all of the funding information from previous year is here. So if there are no changes and your information is the same, then once you get to the CEPD option screen, you just want to review that information and make sure that all of the ones that are selected are selected. But if you need to add any of the funds for new programs, you want to make sure that you identify that. So to go into CEPD options, we're going to go here under CEPD Administrator, and we're going to go to CEPD Options. Okay, so this is the home screen for the CEPD options. It's prompting me to select the CEPD, so I'm going to make my selection. I'm going to choose this one here, CEPD 18. And then it shows all of the programs as well as a program serial number, the zip code for all of the programs that are within that CEPD. So this button here, this is, again, once you have made your selections, you have your information that you want to put into the system. You can select all of the programs, and then that would select all of the programs. So all of the programs that are listed here, there's 33 records. It will select all of them and apply a portion of the CEPD share dollars to all of the programs that you selected, if you select all. If you want to unselect all and go through and select individual programs, so again, this would happen if it changed from last year. So if you have the information in here and you want to unselect, or if you're in here working and you want to make changes, you could go in and unselect all and then go in and select the individual programs that you want to fund. If you want to select the non-60%, this column here, it says 60%. And then all down this column, you see it says no and yes. You want to make sure that you identify the no means that it is not already receiving 60% state funds. Okay. But yes means that it is. So these programs are already receiving the 60%. Again, that is your choice as the CEPD administrator, depending on your recommendations for your particular CEPD, whether or not you want to fund with the 60 and the 40%. Again, you need to make sure that you identify that information. I cannot suggest that. But this just all I can show is where the information is. So this one, it's not generating 60%, but these here, they are. So if you want to go through and select them to then receive CEPD share dollars, you can make your selections here. If you want to go in and select those that will not receive the 60%, as you can see, it says no. I want to make sure that I'm paying attention to the program serial number, that I am giving the right information to the ones that I want to make sure that it's intentional. I'm making sure that all of the program serial number is correct. And as you can see down here, it says save selection to be able to submit. So I've made some selections. I can save here. You can do this all the way up into the due date. Once you hit submit, that information is already submitted to OCTE. So you want to make sure that you're going through identifying the correct programs. So if you want to go through and manually select, you can do that. If you want to select all non-60% programs, you've reviewed this information, and you know all of the programs that are on this list, and you want to select all the non, you can select this button. If you want to make your selections and then before you submit, export to review this information offline, this export button is very useful for doing that. So it will generate an Excel export for you to review this information before you submit. So again, the main takeaway is this is the screen. The screen is very easy to navigate. Again, you're just making your selections, identifying the correct program, and then identifying if it's one that you want to receive both the 60 and the 40. So 60%, non-60%, you could select that or just go through and manually select. So let's show an example here. I'm going to select this one and this one. I'm going to hit the save button. And as you can see, there's a success message from CETEIS saying that that selection that I made is successfully saved in the system. This, at this point, is not submitted. It's just saved in the system. So I'm going to have to go through, make my selections. Again, this will be saved. I can log out of here, take a couple of days, go back in, make those selections, and then submit at the due date. So it won't lose your work. When you're ready to submit, you want to just go ahead and hit the submit button, and then that will then submit that information. You can also search for specific programs by typing in the column headers. If you need to do CEPD options in more than one CEPD, if you have that access, you can just use the drop-down box here and select the specific CEPD that you're looking for. Again, all the CEPD share is just making sure that you receive funding for the specific programs that you want to. It's just channeling that funding. You will not lose money if you don't make the selection, but you want to make sure that the selections that are in the system are the ones you want to receive the CEPD share dollars. It's just kind of like a channeling tool to make sure you're identifying, again, if there's a new program and it needs funding. If you want to make sure that you're getting the funding for all non-60%, you want to make sure that you're going in and making those selections. So once you've made those selections and you're good with your information you've reviewed, you can go ahead and submit. As you can see, successfully submitted CEPD options. And then you can no longer make edits in this specific CEPD. Again, if you want to export this information for your records to review offline of the information that you submitted, you can do that by hitting the export button. using the reports, again, the funding reports from previous year data, you can track that information. The funding formula will kind of outline using that formula to tell you how much each specific program will receive. So again, I'm going to share that CEPD options document just to kind of So this is the CEPD options document. The funding formula provided by OCTE is on this document. You can use this formula to generate, again, how much of the 40% each specific CEPD will generate. Using the other document, it shows the added cost funds. It kind of outlines the information as a whole. But this just kind of outlines all of the columns that I mentioned in the CEPD option screen. And that's basically the procedure for CEPD options. The main point to drive home is making sure that you're identifying the correct programs to receive your CEPD share dollars. Are there any questions, additional questions on CEPD options before we go into our CEPD review for the enrollment? Okay, so we're going to move into our review for our CEPD Administrator. So again, this information for you to review is in the PowerPoint slides. We're going to go back to that slide that we skipped earlier and the CEPD Administrator tasks. So for the enrollment period, again, as we stated with the fiscal agent, if you were on earlier, it is the CEPD Administrator responsibility to submit the enrollment reports to OCTE for review. The CEPD Administrator task for this particular period is to assist fiscal agent with oversight of enrollment completion. You want to review reports. The building enrollment report provides enrollment data that's recorded in CETEIS. Again, you want to make sure that all of your enrollment, your completer information is all accurate in the system for funding purposes, as well as to make sure that the program information is accurate. So using the building enrollment report, that's one report that is available on the CEPD screen. I'll show you that in our training site. It's a helpful tool to review the information that's already been submitted in the system. Again, the error resolution guide that's available on the Knowledgebase is a helpful tool to point your building or point the fiscal agents into if they have validation errors and warnings. It's a great tool to help troubleshoot those errors and warnings. Again, just as with the fiscal agent, there's a new assertion function. We showed that earlier during our fiscal agent demonstration, but you just want to agree that all the data is accurate before submission. And then the last bullet point there is the CEPD option selection. That CEPD option is actually coming before the enrollment completion deadline. So you want to make sure that you keep these dates in mind. So we went through CEPD options. Now we're going to go through the review. We're going to go back to our training site and go to our review page. We're back on our home page. We're going to log in as a CEPD Administrator. And then we're going to go under Admin here. And then Enrollment Collection Review. So here it's a link here. This is the Building Enrollments Report. I'm going to select this link here. And then it's going to give me the CEPD number that I have access to since I logged in is 18. So that's the only one that I have access to here, but you want to make sure that you make the right selections if you have more than one. But here for this demonstration, the CEPD is 18, and you can make your selection to view the information that's in the system for this year. So you can do enrollment counts by program and then hit Launch Report. Again, all of these tools are here for you to review your information, to track completer status, to make sure that all of the information in the system is accurate and as it should be according to your records. So here, this is an enrollment counts by building report. It shows the specific programs here, and it shows the enrollment totals. So this will be very helpful going in, making sure that all of that information is accurate. Again, if you have multiple roles within your CEPD, you have to go out and log back in. But if you want to review the information that's in the system to help track the information, using these reports are very useful. So again, it's outlined here. So this is Alma Public Schools. This is Ashley Community Schools, Breckenridge Community Schools. And it shows all of the information here. So again, a very useful report to review that information to make sure that all of these numbers are in line with your data that you want to be in there. The other report here, we're in a Launch Report. And this just shows enrollment totals. So it doesn't show program information here, but it just shows the enrollment totals. So if this one is useful, if you want to go through and review all of the enrollments that are in this specific building, that information can be accessed by using the enrollment counts by building report. And again, that is under the CEPD Admin screen when you go under CEPD Review. So if you go to under Enrollment Collection Review, you will then access this screen that you can access those reports. If you want to go in and, as we say, run the validation or review the validation process, just as we showed in the Fiscal Agent screens, you can do that as a CEPD Administrator. And it shows that as a CEPD Administrator, I have 53 buildings that I can review information for. The Fiscal Agent submitted that first building here. So as you can see at the fiscal level, this has been submitted to me for review. If I need to send it back to the Fiscal Agent, sending back, I can do that. As you can see, these two buildings have already been submitted by me to OCTE. So they have an X here. So I can no longer access these buildings because that have been sent to OCTE for review. But all of these other buildings here, because they're in my task level here, this is all I have access to. I need to make sure that I do that for all of these buildings. And that's why we encourage you to start this procedure as early as possible and encouraging others to do the same, because you want to make sure that you're not overlooking data, that you're not missing data, as I would say, completer information. You want to make sure that all of the data is tracking in the right direction. So for this specific instance, there's 18 issues here. These are all warnings. Again, at the building level, the building reporter level, they need to address all of these warnings. So it shows the unit name, the specific school, and then it says only one segment identified, please review. Only one segment identified. So somewhere along the line, there's some errors here, only one competency identified. So although these are warnings, you want to make sure that this information is accurate. You can pass validation with a warning. You cannot pass validation with an error. So if this is how you want your data to appear in your report, then you can go ahead and submit. So if all of these warnings are correct on your end, then you can submit. But that's why it's good to look at them. Another example here. So this one shows that the validation passes. And again, all of this information is available for you specific to your specific role. If you have other people making sure that this information is correct, then you have this information to review. It's available to you to review. I can't tell you what your role is. I can only tell you what you have access to. So again, all of this information here is available to you at the CEPD level. So if you want to review this information, it is here. Again, using the building enrollments report is also very useful to make sure that all of the information is accurate before you submit. All of these are just tools to make sure that the data is accurate in the system before submission. Once you submit that information and it's submitted to OCTE, you have to contact OCTE if there are errors within your data. So at this particular moment, if all of the information to my knowledge is accurate, I'm going to send for review. So as you saw at the fiscal agent level, if you were on earlier today, if you want to, to submit, you're going to hit the review button as the CEPD administrator. As the fiscal agent, it said submit, but at the CEPD level, it says review. So you're sending this to review to OCTE. Again, the assertion pops up by clicking OK. I assert that all the enrollment information submitted for this building is accurate and complete. So you're going to hit OK at the CEPD level, and then that process will continue to submit to OCTE or send over to OCTE. I'll use that phrasing, send over to OCTE for review. As you can see, there's a success message here for that particular building. Again, you want to follow the policies that are laid out for you as a CEPD administrator, but this information is here for your review if you want to use it. So for this Breckenridge building, at the building reporter level, it is submitted to the fiscal agent. The fiscal agent level submit to the CEPD administrator. And as a CEPD administrator, I sent that information over to OCTE for review. So at this particular moment, this particular Breckenridge Community Schools is locked. I can no longer make edits in this particular building. And I want to make sure that I do that for the remaining buildings on my caseload. Again, if you want to review reports, same reports here. You can go through and identify that information. Again, if that's useful to you, this information is here. So are there any questions on the submission at the CEPD administrator level or sending over to review at the CEPD administrator level? So all of the guides that we stated earlier are here. The CPID responsibilities of the CPID is here. The PowerPoint slides that I was using earlier, if you want to go back and review that information, are here as well. The CPID options document is here by clicking this link. And then the submission processes document is here, the one that I just went through in the training site to show how to send that information over to OCTE for review. Once we are finished with this particular training, this training session is being recorded. It will be posted on this particular homepage for CPID administrators, and then it will also be posted on the Fiscal Agent homepage for your review at a later time if you need it. So I'm going to go back here and change my screen back to our presentation just to make sure we covered all of our information. Enrollment totals at the CPID level is in the screen that we showed here. Let me switch back over. So as a CPID administrator, going under enrollment collection review, the building enrollments report, and you need to make your selection here. I have to look into that one. I have to double check if you can see all of that at the CPID level. Okay, I'll look into that. Let me get that question again. Okay, so if there aren't any questions, again, we went through the CPID options. So that was the CPID administrator task. Again, the CPID options is actually due first. So you want to make sure that you have your selections into the system. Just going to kind of review some information here. So looking ahead, again, CPID options is due first, is due to OCTE June 6th. So you want to make sure that you make all of your selections by June 6th and make sure that that information is submitted, not just saved, submitted in the system to OCTE. You can make all of your selections and save them in the system, but you want to make sure that it's submitted by June 6th. The actual enrollment report, the completing spring enrollment, you want to make sure that those report are due by June 13th, the end of the year completion entry. That's with all of the information that we have in our spring enrollment. We did spring enrollment training for our building reporters, where we discussed work-based learning, credentials, as well as enrollment information. All of that information is due to the CPID administrator by June 13th. If there's still fiscal agents in the chat, you want to make sure that you have that submitted to the CPID administrator by June 13th. And then the CPID administrator submits that report, or I would say sends that report over to OCTE for review by June 30th. I'm sorry, June 20th. It's right there on the screen, excuse me. By June 20th, 2024, OCTE, okay? And then, as we stated, we're always available if you have questions. So the Completing Spring Enrollment e-workshop is going to be held June 11th. That time is from 9 to 12 and then from 1 to 4. You can drop in and ask questions if you want to pass the word along. If there's any questions regarding the enrollment information or enrollment completion or submission, where we will be available to answer those questions during that time. The link will be posted on the Knowledgebase closer to that time. You do not need to register to attend the e-workshop. But as of right now, this is the last training session for our enrollment completion collection and for the CEPD options. So I'm going to hang on a few more minutes if there's any questions. We kind of finished a little earlier than 11, but I'll stay on for a few minutes to see if there are any remaining questions that I can answer. But at this time, this concludes the information that we're going to share for our Level 5 Fiscal Agent as well as our CEPD Administrator. Remember, all of the guides are on the Knowledgebase. You can review that information there. Once we upload this training webinar, that will be available on the homepage for the Fiscal Agent as well as the CEPD Administrator. So we thank you for your time and attention. We're going to drop thank you, Diana. The link for the evaluation has been dropped in the chat. If you want to leave before I officially end the meeting, you can use that link to let us know how we're doing. We really appreciate all of your responses. If you don't mind hanging on, we're going to only hang on for a few minutes to answer some additional questions. If there aren't any questions, it'll end and that survey will pop up automatically. So again, thank you for all of your time and attention. We're going to officially end the training at this point. Again, if you have technical questions, please reach out to the CETEIS Help Desk at any time using the email. And if you have policy questions, we need you to direct those to OCTE. And the representative is Joan Church, and her email is on the screen as well as her telephone number. So again, thank you for your time and attention. I'm going to go on a brief pause. If you have a question, please feel free to use the chat. Have a great rest of your day if you're leaving, and we will see you on the next time.